A very warm welcome to you. Many thanks for being with us on this week's edition of Almond Finance and Wealth Report, your one-stop point for all the latest happenings in the world of insurance. My name is Lucy Iambi. You are welcome. On this edition of the program, it is not every time you find people who love their profession so much that they don't only stick to it, but they give their all to it. This week, we will bring our full interview session with one of such professional, Mr. William B. Coker, the immediate past Secretary General of the West Africa Insurance Companies Association, Waica, a Gambian by birth and nationality. Mr. Coker started his insurance career in 1980 with the Gambian National Insurance Corporation, where he served in various capacities until 2005, when he was appointed Executive Secretary of Waica. For 18 years, he served Waica and the entire insurance industry with passion and commitment. We celebrate this exceptional professional in this exclusive session with Faith on the CEO Rendezvous on the sidelines of the 2023 Waica Conference in Lagos, where he spoke on a wide range of issues. Take a listen.
The whole intention of teaching insurance in schools is for that child who would have learned about insurance, being made aware of insurance, to go and tell his parents who did not have that opportunity or privilege to understand or learn about insurance. And that way, we will catch some of them. That's going forward. Secondly, certainly the use of technology going forward is indispensable. I mean, it has been said that if you think education is expensive, try stupidity or ignorance. It's the same thing. In the insurance field, in the world today, if you think technology is expensive, go and still be writing with paper and pen. Then you would know how far behind you would have been left when your competitors and your colleagues would have been way, way ahead of you.
Plus all the extras we bring you each week on the program. What more can I say than to urge you as always to sit back, relax, and enjoy the lineup. Details in just a moment. Please stay with us.
A very warm welcome to you. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the CEO Rendezvous, and today I have the honor and privilege to be speaking to, well, I'm going to reveal the secrets amongst us journalists, what we call him. He's a professor.
Really?
We call him professor behind his back.
Really?
The cat is out of the bag. I'm talking about none other than Mr. William B. Coker, who is the Executive Secretary of the West African Insurance Company Association, Waica. We are speaking on the sideline of the 2023 Waica Education Conference being hosted here in Lagos. And it's indeed my pleasure and privilege to have him one-on-one on set with me. Thank you so very much, Mr. Coker.
You're welcome. I didn't know I was a professor. I see, okay.
But I'm not going to divulge the reason why we call you professor amongst us journalists. Okay, very well. So real quick, I just want to start by asking, 50 years in the life of an individual or any organization is not a mean feat. So the Waica has come a long way. But what would you say has been the staying power of this very significant association in the West African sub-region in the last 50 years?
Well, really for me, the staying power and indeed the industry is that people had a love for the profession. Players in the industry over the years took a liking for the profession and stayed on. You see, if you get into insurance, it's a very interesting field, very interesting. And it has been said over and over again that insurance is the only industry that exists to ensure the existence of other industries, whatever part of of a country's economy. So really, just that driving force is there, that you can meet different people, you can meet different situations, and those in themselves are motivating enough. So 50 years, yes, we have done well, and we doff our hearts to the founding fathers, our predecessors in this I wouldn't call it a game, but in this life of the industry in West Africa, certainly the likes of Prof. Joe Iroko, the likes of Chief Ogunlana, who are still with us. They were there 50 years ago. I mean, unfortunately, all the other 8 or so, 9 members that were with them have gone ahead of us, and we remember them fondly.
Okay, Mr. Coker, I do know that in the course of this 50 years of Waica, they've given us all the very significant and notable institutions such as the Waica also came out of this. What would you say is the next or next best for Waica?
Okay, that's a pretty interesting question. You know, why I'm saying that is that the examples you have given are all tangible achievements. However, going forward, the outlook, the aim of Waica is this whole subject of harmonization. And harmonization is not tangible per se, it's not physical. I mean, it's the laws that have to be passed. It's the creating that enabling environment. It's the making sure that people can move across borders feeling quite comfortable that they are insured and insured well. It is ensuring that one company can move across the border to another company, set up shop with minimum inhibitions and still make it. The issue of making sure these protectionist ideas are kept to the minimum, if not totally eliminated. That's the way we are going. And that, like technology is intangible. So really, that is where we are going to. So if you want to look for something very solid, physical, you may not find it going forward, but the impact will be there.
Okay, Mr. Coker, there's no doubt Waica have put in place a lot of work in the last 50 years. So now as they begin the next phase, you talked about it a little bit, as they begin the next phase of, let's say, another 50 years, what are those things or what are those areas you want to say improvements or innovation, so to speak?
Well, if you're talking about seeing, on a lighter note, I hope I will be there to see those innovations. But more seriously, especially for West Africa, I would want to see a situation where we are self-sufficient in insurance and insurance business. The young people coming up, that they themselves will build the industry. They are the techno-savvy ones, that they will use technology. I am looking forward to a situation where my grandmother in the village will be so conversant with insurance that they will almost certainly not do anything that is risk averse without thinking of insurance. That is where we want to go. I mean, we want to be able to make sure that the public at large have a good comprehension of the workings of insurance and understand how it works so that they can take advantage of this shall I call it a phenomenon of insurance without blinking an eye.
Okay, Mr. Coker, especially when you talk about some of these issues, low acceptability of insurance, insurance penetration and all of that, slow adoption to technology, distribution of insurance. Maybe for very few countries like Ghana, who have made some giant steps in terms of using technology to drive their operations. In all the countries within the sub-region, you still find these are issues daily that you're dealing with. Now everyone is talking about technology, but for starters, technology is not cheap. Then two, today at the conference, some of the conversations were also around the fact that how do you even keep those young people who are technologically savvy to be attracted first and to remain within the insurance industry sector. But I just want your thoughts on what do you really see, or what aspects do you see that operators of the insurance industry in the sub-region and even on the African continent can actually do, except for South Africa, can actually do to begin to increase the level of insurance awareness and acceptability amongst Africans?
Well, hitherto, first of all, let us give a little background as to where we are. When I started my insurance career some 40 years ago, 1981 to be precise, there was no insurance education anywhere. I mean, you hardly even had heard an advertisement in the radio or television. Today they're all over the place. The media is full of it. So for me, that is coming up. Today we have a situation where the subject of insurance is being incorporated in the curriculum of high schools and university courses. That for me is a great stride. But going forward, we need to leverage on this, because the whole intention of teaching insurance in schools is for that child who would have learned about insurance, being made aware of insurance, to go and tell his parents who did not have that opportunity or privilege to understand or learn about insurance. And that way, we will catch some of them. That's going forward. Secondly, certainly the use of technology going forward is indispensable. I mean, it has been said that if you think education is expensive, try stupidity or ignorance. It's the same thing. In the insurance field, in the world today, if you think technology is expensive, go and still be writing with paper and pen. Then you would know how far behind you would have been left when your competitors and your colleagues would have been way, way ahead of you. So yes, you talked about the young people. How do we keep them in here? Let them be free. Allow them to just blow their brains up with ideas. Coordinate them. Yes, there's no issue about that. Coordinate them, but allow them to think. I'm telling you, their thought process now is far different from when I was their age, and certainly currently. So you have no doubt that if you allow them to be free, you'll be surprised at what comes out of them.
Okay, Mr. Coker, so oftentimes when you talk about allowing young people, the few ones that have been attracted to the insurance sector, to be free, you also have to contend with the issue of regulation. Insurance is still one industry that's not so, there are a lot of, I don't want to use the stronger, but regulators within the insurance industry, sometimes it does appear they are not even aware of the flow and the trend of what technology is about to do. In the banking sector, we've seen a lot of disruption as a result of technology. We haven't seen much of that. I'll use the markets where we are. We haven't seen much of that in the Nigerian market. So as such, regulators still feel, oh, there are certain things you can't do and there are certain things you cannot do. For instance, if a lot of people will want a situation where as an insurance company, I sell a policy online. Everything is done online. I don't need someone to also come in person to my office to sign on the document or to sign on the policy and all of that. So when you say allow young people to be free, is that really feasible in the insurance sector, given the issues of strict regulation?
Of course it is feasible. Look, human beings are a free spirit. You just have to coordinate them. I'm not saying imprison them, but coordinate them. You don't leave them limitless to go all over the place. You see, I know that you were trying to run away from the word draconian or evil or something or whatever that regulators describing those. Most people tend to do that, the policeman in the system. No, look, they have a role to play. They have a role to play. The reason why I say they have a role to play, you see, in every sphere of human endeavor, there are what I call cowboys.
Sure.
There are cowboys, and the cowboys are the people who give that society a bad name. And those people, those cowboys have to be checked. You go to church, there are cowboys there. You go to the mosque, there are cowboys there who take advantage of the system to benefit themselves. You go to an office environment, there are cowboys there. But then the authorities there try to control them, keep an eye on them, so that they don't go astray. And that is what needs to be done. You know, allow the young people. They will get there. You know, one of the things, you know, we didn't have the privilege of doing was to make mistakes. As young people, we were not given the opportunity to make mistakes. We were told this is how it is, you do it that way. And of course, our brain power grew, you know, pretty slowly and within a limited sphere. But then if you allow these people, the younger people, and let them be free, let them flex their muscles, watch them so that they don't crash your company. Yeah, watch them. Once you see them taking one wrong step, say, hey, look, it does not really go down well. Let's do it this way. Watch them, but allow them. Let them have that sense of, oh, I can innovate. Because going forward, innovation is the thing. If you cannot innovate, you'll be selling the same old products that my grandfather sold. But you want to be, especially when you know you're trying to serve a techno-savvy generation. You need to be able to accommodate a lot of things. You need to be able to do that.
Today, what are we doing? We're growing the number of human beings faster than the rate at which we are growing young. Of course, we're going to be poorer, no matter how hard we pray. Therefore, I believe that population must enter our political agenda, irrespective of our religious beliefs. We need to enact policies that will help us manage our population better.
Okay, Mr. Coker, looking back at your time as Executive Secretary of Waica, now that the passing of the goalpost is shifting, what are those things you look back in your time as Waica and you say, oh, this was my proudest moment? I know, was it yesterday you mentioned, oh, it's for the industry to score me, but I want to start.
Well,
but I'm sure in the midst of all the things you've been able to accomplish as Executive Secretary at Waica, which one stands out the most for you? Maybe in terms of the challenges that came along with it, or the exposure, or whatever it is. Which one are you?
Well, you're asking me for one, so I limit myself to one.
Okay. So let me allow you.
Let me
allow you to be free.
Well, okay. Well, I'm not a young person, so freedom is. Without doubt, during my tenure, I think my proudest moment was actually in this hall 11, 12 years ago, when after like 2 years of work, the then president of Sierra Leone, His Excellency Dr. Ernest Bai Koroma, who was also a former president of Waica.
I remember.
You were here then?
Yes.
Launched, and for me that was an approval, launched a product or something that I drove from beginning to the end. I mean, I have a story to tell my grandchildren, and it will be a nice one. Because when I narrate to them the ups and downs of how we started to do Waica until we got to where we are, and Waica is now, in fact, in West Africa, we don't reckon with Africa in this because they are a special breed, but in West Africa, Waica is, if not one, number 2 in West Africa, in a space of 11 years, 12 years, when there have been people there who've been there 25, 30 years. I have joy in my heart for that. And I am thankful to God. He said that it was me who had to, you know, as it were, midwife this Waica project. So that was a great one for me. That was a big, big one for me, and I enjoyed that one very much. It was a great learning curve. You've allowed me to do another one. The other one I would want to look at is, again, an intangible something. You see, there was a time, I think about 5, 7 years ago, no, more than that, ECOWAS called us together, and they were also thinking of some form of reinsurance, but this time to focus on providing sovereign guarantees. They wanted to do one ECOWAS. But then it came to light that the African Trade Insurance, which was headquartered in Kenya, and actually was an African Union institution, very much like Africa Re. It was sanctioned, it was created by a protocol of the African Union, then OAU. They called on us, they invited me. We went to Lagos, in Abuja, sorry, when we went in Abuja. We had a series of meetings in Abuja, and some of which I chaired myself. And they said, look, why do we need to reinvent the wheel? And this was seen, was accepted. At the time, I actually, well, he's still my friend, thankfully. Mr. George Otieno was the CEO of ATI, and we knew each other. I think we've known each other for more than 30, 35 years. He reached out to me, he called me, said, hey, Willie, this is what is happening. We're looking for support and things like that. And we discussed the whole thing. So we went to the various ECOWAS meetings. And we agreed that, look, let us bring the services of ATI to West Africa. Because after all, if it's an AU body, we have a right and privilege, to be part of it. And when it came, I think they had about, at the time, before we got in to do this, they probably had about 3 or 4 countries joining at a very low level. But I can say for free now that almost all the 15 countries are part of ATI, and they are enjoying it, I can tell you that. So that for me is another milestone, another major, achievement, if I may put it that way. Coming closer home, we have recently been able to convince a meeting of, again, ECOWAS, because we work pretty closely with ECOWAS. A special committee meeting was set up, and we met in Ghana. And now insurance companies can be taken to cover, as it were, infrastructure risks, 100 million, 200 million, etc., etc. Because like hitherto, the idea or the notion was that one insurance company does not have that kind of money, which is true, which is true. But then, like, I made the point that, look, if one bank cannot finance and they come together as a consortium of banks, why can't the same thing happen for insurance companies? Properly run, rated insurance companies and reinsurance companies. Put a consortium together, and they can provide the insurance cover for infrastructure projects. Apparently that opened the eyes of the whole meeting, because they never perceived that that was possible. And when they saw it, they said, wow, that's great. If it's possible, then we go along those lines. And that was included in the resolutions of that meeting, which is now at the Council of Ministers of ECOWAS for their approval and, of course, implementation. So those, in short, those are just a few of the things that God has used us to do. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
That's our time on the program this week. Join us again, same time, same station next week for a fresh package. But in the meantime, please feel free to connect with us on all our social media platforms. Join us every Wednesday live on Nigeria FM 102.7 for our Pidgin English program, Waiting Insurance They Do Serve, powered by NICOM. My name is Lucy Yambi. Until next time, from the entire crew, it's goodbye.